Hello and welcome back to the Know-It-Alls Talkball podcast. It has been a minute.
It's been a long time. I mean, we continue to sit on this couch and do absolutely nothing with our lives. We just haven't really filmed any of it.
We haven't filmed any of it.
No.
So how have you been?
Yeah, good. You know, recently started a new job. That's exciting. Almost done with the thesis. But if somebody from the uni is listening to this, I don't have a job and I'm still just working on my thesis because I need a job tour for my internship.
This is your job.
This is my job,
and it will be your internship as well.
Exactly. I talked to them.
I am his boss.
The counselor.
Yeah, so I mean, someone gave us a little bit of advice and said that they really liked the banter at the start of the show, so we're doing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard for us because, I mean, we're not actually friends outside of this
podcast.
podcast.
No, and we're not really funny at all, actually.
No.
We actually only meet up like once a week to talk about football for 30 minutes.
It's kind of a marriage of convenience.
Yeah,
you know?
it really worked out.
To really make all that coin from all the viewers that we've got, you know?
Yeah, so we get beat up when we go watch FC Groningen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we have, that will probably feature in maybe an Eredivisie episode, but we did go watch to see another Groningen game.
Tough.
Probably the worst game of football I've watched in a while.
It was tough to watch.
It was bad. It was
bad. Speaking of things that are tough to watch, let's get on
that
with
leads us perfectly into our video.
Our new podcast theme, topic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so we were contemplating doing another fixing episode, considering all the stuff that's happened with Spurs as of late. You've got Conte's gone, their technical director, whose name escapes me right now.
Paratici.
Yeah, there it is.
Fabio Paratici.
He's gone as well. So we were thinking, with all that stuff, and they lost to Milan in the Champions League.
Not going to win the league out of every cup.
No, might not even make top four in the end. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make top four. So we're thinking, what if we do a fixing episode like we did with Atletico and Groningen? But then we got an even better idea. We were like, who actually wants to see Tottenham get fixed? No one.
I kind of do, but
you don't count. No, but seriously, I think one of the best things about Tottenham is that they are so shit.
Yeah, and that they have been, like, if you look at the big six, like, they are the team that are definitely, like, playing in that fine line of, like, okay, when are we going to stop being one of these big six clubs? Because, like, what the fuck?
Well, I tell you when Newcastle gets up. I give them 2 years,
2
honestly.
years, maybe less. I mean, if Newcastle made Champions League over Spurs already, like,
they could do.
That's something. But let's start with a little bit of a history lesson, taking us back through the journey, to quote a great Italian captain, never won the Champions Euro winner, Giorgio Chiellini.
World Cup winner?
No,
Was he in 2006?
I think he might have been a little too young, but he is probably 65 years old now. So he might have been there also in 38 when they won the second one. But to quote Chiellini, it is the history of the Tottenham. You know, they are just awful. Their last major trophy, 2007-08, and it was the League Cup.
Yeah, it was the League Cup.
Is it even a major trophy for a team of Spurs?
No. As a Man United fan, we have just won the League Cup, and the League Cup is
the biggest
trophy in the land.
I would agree. I mean, you finish it in February because it's so intense that the players can't have that at the end of the season. You know, that's why it's done in February.
Yeah, I mean, we're not really going to look into too many stats of this Spurs team, I think, this video, but I've got a few things that jumped out to me as Spurs are a big club, there's no doubting that
historically in England.
I think historically and just numbers wise as well. I mean, they've got the ninth highest revenue for a club in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
That is shocking.
It's really high. And they have, I think they're up there in terms of net spend as well, in terms of how much they're spending on players.
I mean, their last couple seasons prove that, right? I mean, Mourinho got a lot of backing. Conte got a lot of backing. Just for him to get fired now in March, like.
Speaking of firing managers, I'll bring up one of the other stats that I've got. Since getting rid of Andres Villas-Boas, am I saying that right? They have spent £55 million, not euros, pounds, on not signing players, but not signing managers, firing managers.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think that says a lot about, I think since Poch, I would say, the desperation for Spurs to win a trophy has in fact made their team and their organization worse.
It's completely misguided because they expect that they expect to get a manager of Conte's level, which, in my opinion, regardless, the Spurs thing is as much to blame on Conte as Spurs themselves. I think we'll get into Conte in a little bit, but I think that's the issue with Spurs, right? Like what you said, I think that they expect we're going to bring Mourinho, Conte, and with the squad we have, we'll pump 150 million on these guys, immediately we'll rise up the ranks. It's Arsenal with Arteta took, how long has he been in the job already? 4 or 5 years or something like that before they even and this year, I don't even think they expected to be fighting for the league. They probably thought we can push top 4 this year. And United, this Ten Hag project's going well, but nobody feasibly expects just because Ten Hag came in, in 2 years we're going to win the league and we're going to be competing for the Champions League.
In 2 years, I would like for Man United to be competing for the league.
Yeah, but that would mean next season you're already competing for the league.
No, I mean, if we come third again next season, I think that's okay. But
exactly, right? And I think Spurs just have, like you said, this idea where they just want to accelerate the process. They're like, oh yeah, let's just pay Mourinho 20 million euros a season because he's a serial winner and he's a proven winner. He's going to win us something. And then you fire him before the League Cup final that he got you to.
Exactly.
Like you said, where's the guidance in this club?
There's no, you bring in Mourinho, one of the biggest serial winners in all of football.
Yeah.
And then you finally got him in the right position. He's in a cup final and you fire him 6 days before the final. Yeah. It's absolutely obscene. But I mean, there's so many, I think, for me, what stands out with Spurs is that they seem to always build momentum and then either make bad investments, they don't make the right investments, or they just don't invest.
Yeah, with Poch, that was the story, right?
Yeah.
So the team is climbing up. Poch is the only manager in Spurs history that's gotten them to back-to-back Champions League appearances. He's the only one who's been able to do it. And the last 2 times, they spent a total of $0, euros, whatever. They spend no money. Then Mourinho comes and they're saying here's a war chest. Conte comes, here's a war chest. It just doesn't really make any sense. Pochettino is the guy that brought you back up from irrelevancy, and you don't even give him a dime to spend on a player.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just it doesn't make any sense the way that they sort of seem to allocate money and spend it. But also, while we're on the topic of their Champions League runs, did you know that 10-11 was their first ever Champions League?
I was surprised to find that too, considering what we think of Spurs as a team. You would have expected them to at least be in 1 or 2 Champions League runs, but they had none up until 2011-12. And yeah, it's just it doesn't really make any sense that they're still so bad. That it's clearly once the pressure, it's okay, we build. Last season, it was we had Nuno, that was awful, that was terrible. Now we have Conte, he got us into top 4. And instead of building on the top 4, the expectation is immediately we have to win a trophy this year. And maybe it's different because...
It's desperation.
It's desperation. Exactly. And also, I don't blame them. I mean, their last major trophy, if we discount the League Cup, was in 1991.
61, wasn't it?
Well, that was the league. In 91, they won the FA Cup. And just to show how much Spurs has lagged behind since then, when they won in 91, it was their 8th FA Cup victory. At the time, that was a record. They were the outright winner of the most FA Cups in history of football. Since then, they've been surpassed by United and Arsenal, who I think are both on 15, 16 FA Cups, something like that. So they have just fallen off a cliff. Who was their starting striker who wore number 10 in that team, to show you how old, 91 is a long time ago. But then do you the number 10 for that team?
I honestly, I don't think I could guess all day, and I probably wouldn't get it. 91.
It was Gary Lineker.
Wow.
Gary Lineker was starting for that team that won the FA Cup against Nottingham Forest.
That's crazy.
And the league's in 61. And even if we look at just the finals that they've been to since they won that League Cup, they've only been to 4 finals. 1 Champions League final, which they lost to Liverpool, and 3 League Cup finals, which they've also lost.
I think they lost 1 to Chelsea, 1 to Man United.
And 1 to City.
And 1 to City as
the
well.
The Ryan Mason
the one
final.
That they,
So it just seems okay, we finally have a little bit of momentum going. Let's immediately go for a title. It's like, no, that's not really how football works.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just like fast track stuff, especially in a league like the Premier League where you're not the only team spending over £100 million every summer. And it just, lack of guidance. It just doesn't really make sense where they're going at all.
Yeah, I would love to point out as well some of the embarrassments that have happened along the way in their trophyless journey. So I think the year after, the year after they won their last trophy, so the 9-10 season, they were in the semi-final of the League Cup again, and they lost to Portsmouth, who ended up getting relegated that same season.
And did win the League Cup, actually, too.
I think they did. Then there's also the infamous, I think these are the two biggest ones in terms of trophy losses. There's the infamous finishing third in a 2-horse race against Leicester in 2016. Find that absolutely hilarious.
They had that, that title was that team's to lose.
That was theirs, yeah. And I mean, the one thing that I actually didn't realize is that in the 16-17 season, they had a great season. They finished on 86 points with a goal difference of 60.
Yeah.
They had the best goal difference in the league that year.
They were really good that year. They were a great team.
And then I think the next season, in that same season, they got knocked out of the group stage of the Champions League. And then got knocked out of the first round of the Europa League knockout. Do you want to take a guess by who?
I'm going to say Ferenc Kravos from Hungary.
Ghent.
Oh my God.
And then they had the infamous, they lost to Zagreb.
Yeah, when they were up, 2-0, and then to tie the tie, and then Orsic hat-trick or something.
And then in the Champions League, would have been round of 16 or quarterfinal against Juventus. They went to Turin, got a great result, 2-2. You know, you're expecting, okay, let's go back
away goals at the time.
Yeah, with away goals.
So you basically have a foot in the next round.
Yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't have been a great Juventus team. No. And then they lost 2-1 at home, and that's where we get the infamous quote from, I'm using the word infamous too much, but the infamous quote from Giorgio Chiellini, "This is the history of the Tottenham." You know? And it is. It is.
It truly is, because now let's fast forward to the day we are today. Literally today, 29th of March, is when Fabio Paratici was basically banned from football because of his involvement in Juventus scandal that docked them 15 points in Serie A. So now the Premier League is back this Saturday, April 1st. And Spurs are really trying to lay the foundations to have the best April Fools in the history of any club ever, because no manager, no director of football, and no idea what's going on. Nobody has a fucking clue what's going on.
Because I think we've been... Oh, sorry, I'm not talking to my mic. We switched...
we thought we'd try something new.
Yeah, we try something new. But, yeah, I mean, that's... now I've lost my...
Based on... we were on Spurs current history.
You know what? I'm just going to move on to something else.
Okay.
This video is quite... we're moving from sort of one topic to the next, but I would also love to highlight some of the terrible spending that has gone on at Spurs. And I think we've done a little bit of this already. But they sold Gareth Bale for 115 maybe? Or they made 115
with the profit
from that transfer.
Yeah.
That transfer.
I mean, at
window.
the time, it was the record when Real signed him.
And then they spent 109 million in that same
transfer
same transfer window. And they actually had some decent ones, but the players they actually spent money on, the big money, are probably their worst signings. So they signed Paulinho.
Oh, that's okay. He was pretty decent.
No, he was terrible at Spurs.
Was he? Oh.
Wasn't he? I thought he was. I thought he was terrible.
When he had his crazy renaissance in Barca. So
exactly. He was decent at
okay.
Barca. Nasser Chadli.
Yeah, he was a role player, whatever.
Soldado.
He was okay, I guess.
It was not okay. He was terrible.
Yeah, he wasn't too good.
Etienne Capoue, and then Christian Eriksen.
Okay.
And Eric Lamela.
Yeah, no. Lamela, no.
Do you want to know how much this would have been in what, like 2013, 14?
I bet they signed at that time, considering prices and stuff, they probably signed for 25 million, which would be a lot for the time.
30 million.
30, yeah.
He left
that's
on
a lot.
A free to Sevilla, I think, last year or something.
Oh my god.
And then you've got Soldado. You want to take a crack at that one as well?
Like Llorente or Soldado?
Soldado.
Wait, so which one did I just do? I thought I did Soldado.
Oh, no, that was Lamela.
Oh, Lamela was 30.
Yeah.
Soldado, well, he was pretty decent back then. I think was probably playing for Valencia. And he's a striker. I bet they signed for like 40 million or something stupid like
It was
that.
26,
which is
still an
stupid.
insane amount.
Because
and
if you actually adjust it to like football terms now, that's like, what, a 60 million player?
Yeah, he also got outscored by the left back when he was there. So yeah,
maybe I remember him differently.
Yeah.
I
think maybe you were thinking about Llorente.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about Llorente.
And he obviously scored a very important goal against Man City.
Yeah,
so,
he did. But to play devil's advocate on that, I do think, like, okay, those signings are not really inspiring now in hindsight. But if we just look at this transfer window, where they spent a lot of money on players like Yves Bissouma, they brought in Kulusevski on loan. Who else did they bring? Or even just like the last few years when they brought Ndombele into the club, where they brought Giovanni Lo Celso into the club.
Isn't Ndombele already gone?
He's at Napoli now, yeah. So
and they signed him for 55 million.
Yeah, and he did nothing for Spurs.
Exactly.
Like, he was signed with Pochettino, Nuno didn't like him, Mourinho didn't like him, Conte didn't like him. Like, so who made that signing? Like, if he came for Pochettino, why was he also not really playing for Pochettino? Like, was he just signed by Daniel Levy? Like, that's also a lot of things that we don't know. Like, how is the relationship between Levy and between whoever comes in? Because clearly there seems to be a divide. Because even now with Paratici, who was supposed to be like Conte's friend from Juve and stuff, clearly there was a divide there too, because Conte came out and just exploded the club with his interview, which in my opinion was like such a childish move, and it was so stupid. And like, it's kind of like when you're 13 and you want somebody to break up with your girlfriend, so you tell your friend to do it, or like you just make her life miserable so she breaks up with you because you don't have the guts to break up with her.
It sounds like you have experience with that situation.
Maybe I feel like Antonio Conte sometimes. But
I think we should get into some fixes in a sec, but I want to go into the one last little dig that I'm going to have at Spurs because we are going to say a few things. I think we're going to have to do this quickly because we've been chatting shit for quite a while. But I think I got a list of players that have won trophies since they left Spurs. It's like 30 players long.
I mean, like Eriksen is definitely there.
Eriksen, you've got some really obvious ones that were obviously going to win trophies, and some people have gone on to win trophies at, they might have won the Mexican League or.
But you also, like you said, there's also Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, those guys that won a lot.
Gareth Bale, Luka Modric, Jermaine Defoe, Adel Taarabt. They've got Paulinho,
Juan Foyth as well.
Juan Foyth, Llorente,
Kyle Walker, of course.
Yeah, and there was
Clint Dempsey.
Kevin Prince Boateng won
God.
the German league as well. No, sorry, the German Cup. With Frankfurt, yeah. And there was, who was the other one? Stambouli. What's his name? What's his first name?
The Algerian CDM.
Yeah. Benjamin Stambouli went and won the French league.
So basically, you leave Spurs, you win a trophy.
Exactly, you leave Spurs, you win a trophy. And Eriksen has also added another one recently at Man United.
Another trophy.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure Harry Kane will be joining that list very soon.
So before we move on to a quick fix, I actually saw a tweet which I wanted to read out to you. I wanted you to have a quick guess on this. So these are the amount of the top 6 clubs, the amount of permanent managers they've had since they last won a league title, right? So Man City have had 0 new permanent managers since we won our last league title, because Pep was the last manager to win it, right? Yeah. Liverpool also 0, because the last manager to win it was Klopp, and he's still there. Arsenal are at 2 because Wenger won it, and then Unai came in, and so did Arteta now, right? We have Chelsea on 4 and United on 5. So everybody's quite close, right? From the numbers I gave you, the amount of numbers since the last league title that Spurs won?
So we're essentially talking amount of managers since 1961.
61.
Well, I know that teams didn't have as many managers back then as they do now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But they would have had a lot through the 2000s as well. 16.
36. They've had 36 managers. I don't know if you can see this.
Isn't that
36 permanent managers?
Hasn't
That's
West
not even counting
Ham-
interims, like Ryan Mason, like the guy who's in now Christian Stellini. Not counting interims.
36.
36 managers. Yeah.
My
I think
God.
Watford must have had about 50 in the last 10 years, but 36 is real bad for a top 6 club.
That is shocking. Man.
But speaking of managers and speaking of how to fix this club, I have come up with a 3-point solution. on how to
3-point
fix
plan?
it.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. First, get Champions League football. You're out of the Cups, you're out of the Champions League, you're out of everything, basically. Like, you can't win a trophy this year.
That's not really a fix, though. I could say I just win the league.
Just
win the
I think if they don't get the Champions League, the issue that comes with that is that you're not attracting the top tier managers that Spurs want to attract.
I think, there's a lot of rumors about Harry Kane. I think if they don't get into the Champions League, it's over. He's gone.
Well, that's actually, we're jumping 2 points ahead. Because my second point is, after you get Champions League, do whatever it takes to get Julian Nagelsmann through the door. I say bring that guy in and just be like, Julian, rip it up. Just like what he did at Hoffenheim, where he came in. They were such a whatever club, always fighting relegation, bouncing. Champions League. Leipzig, Champions League semifinal, a Pokal final, won the Pokal with Leipzig. Bayern, super unfortunate to get fired, in my opinion.
Quarterfinal, fired. No sense.
8 wins out of 8 matches in the Champions League, and including a run that had Barcelona, Inter Milan, and PSG in it.
We've seen some crazy
Especially
sackings
recently.
this
It's been
year.
insane,
but that takes the cake.
I think it's bigger than
Tuchel. We could do a whole video on this, but let's move on.
Nagelsmann, get him through the door, and then sell Harry Kane. He's your most valuable asset. If you keep, you need to bring some sort of, you need to just explode this project. He's already broken the Spurs all-time goal-scoring record. I think that was the only thing that would hold Spurs back. Let's have that for our fans, that they managed to watch a player.
No trophy, but
we watched maybe our greatest player of all time in this era, right?
Become our greatest player.
Yeah, become our greatest player of all time. He's already done it. He's England's top goal scorer. He's 30, 31 already. He's got to get the fuck out of there.
I think he's only 30.
30. You could
maybe even 29.
You could definitely sell him for over 150, for 150 million.
I mean,
especially if United come with a big ship of money, I would definitely sell him to United.
I haven't thought about the manager at all, but I had a very similar plan in terms of rip it all to shreds. I reckon they
blow it up.
They need to fully start over because you have players there that have been there for years and you haven't been able to win with them. They've gotten you to a certain stage, but you have to start over. At some point, you have to say enough is enough and you have to, try something new.
Yep.
So I reckon you get what you can, as much as you can for Harry Kane. And I think for Son as well, you get as much as you can. And it kind of sucks he's had a bad season.
That's the worst part because I think realistically, if both are firing on top form, I would sell Son over Kane. Because I think what Kane brings to the team also just as a fan of, if I were a fan of Spurs, I would be way happier if Kane stayed. But Son, what are you going to get for Heung-min Son? That's probably a €100 million player who's played at 20 million evaluation this year. He's been terrible.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to get, had they sold him last season, he's a 100 million player.
Exactly.
Now, I wouldn't pay, because you don't know if he's going to rediscover
40,
his... 40 maybe?
Maybe.
Really tough to say on that. But I would have very similar plans and then, getting a manager that's going to be in there for the long haul that you have to commit to and say, yes, we will give you money. Yeah. Yes, we will back you for at least 3 years, and then we'll reassess. Instead of getting in managers and being like, oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that.
And also I think there's got to be a change upstairs because it can be that every manager that goes in there ends up having the worst time of their life and ends up getting in a fight with everybody upstairs.
Because Levy and the bunch, they came in relatively soon after they won their last trophy, I
want to say yes.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. But yeah, that pretty much sums up my plan for Spurs.
If there even is a plan. Even we don't have a plan. We just wanted to trash on Spurs.
Exactly. And
hot prediction, they're going to make top 4. You heard it here first.
You've already predicted that, right?
I predicted that.
I'm still backing Liverpool to wait, where are they? They're still in like 6 or something?
Maybe 7,
with the
but they play
games in
City
hand.
this weekend.
That's true. Yeah, we're back with a bang this weekend. I forgot to ask, you watch any of the international break?
No.
No. Me
Argentina played Panama and Curacao.
What a joke of a couple of weeks it's been.
Just give the players some rest. Jesus,
Exactly.
They're playing so much football.
I know. No one wants to watch that shit anymore.
No, who wants to watch Netherlands Gibraltar? Nobody.
They had 50 shots.
Yeah, and
they scored
they
3
did
goals.
fuck all with it. Nathan Ake had to score a brace to make it look respectable. But anyways, that is our Spurs episode. A case of failure by the Know It Alls Talk Ball podcast. We hope you enjoyed
case study.
A case study on Spurs being ass. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Drop a like, comment, tell us what you think Spurs need to do, how to fix Spurs. If you're a Spurs fan, my condolences. I wish you the best rest of the year. I feel like people have probably been saying this to you for the last 5 to 6 years, and I really hope you guys turn it around.
I don't. Goodbye.